Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be another Avatar Weiss Schwarz deck building video, and specifically we'll be doing two new decks today. The first one will be the 4-color Aang deck focused on the Aang Master of All Elements and Energy Bending combo. And then the second deck will be the very blue focused Katara and Sokka deck. And then the gameplay in this video will be those two decks battling against each other. So it's an interesting matchup where it's probably the most interesting deck using a lot of the most interesting cards in the set against probably the least interesting main archetype in the set, which is the kind of Katara focused stuff, which seems solid, but like you're not doing anything super like exciting compared to what a lot of the other decks are doing. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out. But first, we'll do the deck profile. So we'll do 4-color Aang first, then we'll do the Katara deck, then we'll get into gameplay. So 4-color Aang. So this means we're going to have our first, apart from the trial deck, first deck that really focuses on yellow. Because yellow leans quite heavily into kind of asking you to do this 4-color deck. That's what the Aang Master of All Elements, the double rare, wants you to do. So it is, of course, level 3, cost 2, 10,000 power, 2 soul. On play heal, as a lot of level 3s tend to have. But for this deck, I think it's actually quite good that it does have the heal effect on entering the stage. And then the climax combo. So there is a cost. You do have to pay a stock and discard a card from your hand. And you just have to keep that in mind when you get into the end game. But if that is the case, and you have the energy bending in play, you flip the top 4 cards of your deck over, and you basically brainstorm for color. Rather than climax. So you're looking to get all 4 colors to make the effect go off to its maximum. But you do still get effects by just based on, like, you get 1 for 2. If you get 3, you get the 2 and the 3. And if you get 4, you get the 2, the 3, and the 4. So on 2 colors, what you do is you put 2 cards from your opponent's waiting room into their deck and they shuffle. So you decompress them. You're trying to separate their climax, their cancels in their deck, which is a good thing. On 3 colors, you do 3 damage. Really good, a different chunk of damage. On 4, you just put a top card of your opponent's deck into their clock. That is basically uncancelable damage because it's card straight to there. So they have a chance to cancel the attack damage, the straight up damage from the effect, but they can't cancel the other one if you get all 4. So really strong effect, and the idea again that is what we're trying to do is have 3 of these on the field and just go this attack combo hit 4, this attack combo hit 4, this attack combo hit 4, and there's so much damage coming through at that point that you are going to do quite a lot. Again, keeping in mind you're doing it during a climax turn, so it already has 2 soul, but this bumps it up to 3 soul, so there's like 3 damage, then 3 effect damage, then 1 damage, so like theoretically 7, 7, 7 kind of coming through, but they're going to cancel some of it. But still, big finisher within the deck, really, really strong. So straight away, for kind of deck building, we're just going to say straight away 4 copies of each of these, no question there, so straight away 4 and 4 for the Aang, no questions. Then we get into some of the other interesting cards. Of course, there's the level 1, which works in a very similar way, where you flip 4 and you get effects building up based on what there is. This is not as powerful, but again, the idea of this deck is that you should very consistently be able to hit 3 colors. And it's kind of built in that way, where like you should be hitting 3 colors like most of the time, and in 4 it's capable of, and you should hit it like a reasonable amount of time, but you won't hit it all the time. So that's kind of the idea of this deck. Don't think about it as a failure if you don't hit 4. Just think about it as like it can consistently hit 3, and that is good for multiple cards, which we'll get to. Then we come to the sort of like so we're playing 2 copies of the level 1 Aang. Then we get the 2 kind of interesting cards that you can kind of debate about if you want to include these or not. To make the deck a little bit more interesting and play into the full gimmick, I am going to play both of them. So the first one here, Aang Consulting His Past Selves, is an event card. So you have to have an Aang on the field to play this card. It costs 1 at level 1, But you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose a character from among them, put it into your hand. The rest go to the waiting room, and then this card itself, the event, goes to your memory. While in memory, you can play climax cards without fulfilling color requirements, and your character cards in hand can also be played without fulfilling color requirements. So it makes the deck easier to operate and run once you play it. So the question with this one is, well, if I build the deck properly with the right level ratios and color ratios, I shouldn't need a card, a specific card, to make the colors work properly. But by itself, it is a pretty good card, because it does allow you to search the top 4, which is good. We have a lot of cards that can get stuff out of the waiting room, as we'll get into, so this adds to that. We are playing a lot of Aang, so that restriction isn't too bad. It is purely just a question of, does the deck need a card where like half of its use is just to assist with colors? And for me, I think the search effect does enough that I want to play some of it, but I don't want to play a lot of it. So I'm not playing 4, I'm not playing 3, I'm playing 2 copies. Now this is where I'll bring in another card that works with this, and that is the Chibi Aang. We're playing 1 copy of the box topper card, Chibi Aang, level 0, 2500 power. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you may pay the cost, which is put a card from your hand into the waiting room, so discard a card. So you pay the cost, choose and consulting his past selves in your waiting room, return it to your hand. So this gets this out of the waiting room. So if you struggle to draw into this, this allows you to get it while also still being a level 0 that can help you play early on, because it's 2500, it's decent. And it's an Aang, it's a level 0 Aang as well in the deck, which we otherwise don't really have, because deck construction is kind of rough in this deck in terms of you have to make some tough choices. Then there's this card, the level 2 1 cost Aang Learning Avatar State, 1000 power, but you're not using it as a normal character. You kind of do have to think about this as just like a weird like event almost. So the main effect that you're using it for is just that on a turn where you've played a climax card, so it's on the field, if you flip this as part of one of your attack triggers, it gets the trigger that is on the climax that's in play. So it basically allows it to be sort of kind of multicolor from an event, a climax perspective. So if you play the choice, at the end of the game, you're probably going to get the choice icon if you flip this. But earlier, you'll get some of the other icons as well. So in this specific version of the deck, we could potentially get gold bar, and we could potentially get the pants or gate icon for blue as well. I initially considered like playing 2-2-2-2, like 2 of each color climax card, so we could also have access to standby. But red was such a tricky proposition. I felt like we had to play 4 of the yellow, and I dropped the red climax cards. So there's that, and then it also has an alarm effect, which is if it's the top card in your clock and you have 4 characters on the field, you put the top card of your deck into your stock, which definitely can come up. So it has a use if you draw into it. It's just not a card you ever want to play necessarily. And again, keep in mind, you can play this as the card that you clock for your turn to draw 2 cards. So it's possible to make the alarm go off relatively easily. So I kind of really want to play into the gimmicks of like making multicolor easier, and then having like access to like some fun with the triggers and stuff like that. So I'm playing 3 copies of this. I found with 4, I was seeing it a little bit too much, and then at lower amounts, I wasn't seeing it enough that it basically didn't justify playing the card like at all. So we're going to play 3 copies of this for now, but I would probably say this is one of the more droppable cards if you do want to switch up the deck from where we are here. And then our final cards in yellow are going to be 2 copy of Momo Winged Lemur. So that's been a pretty consistent thing in nearly all decks, is to include 2 or 1 copy of Momo. And it's the same here. We have a few different climax cards, so we want the climax swap as an option. And then we also want the ability to put key characters back into our deck with the other Momo effect. So that is that. I'll go into some blue next, because there is a specific card that kind of is part of our main combo, and that is this. We play 2 copies of Katara Quick Thinker. And this is a climax card, so we also play 2 copies of Frozen in Action. So Katara Quick Thinker It's a level 0, 500 power, but it has 3 effects. So its generic effect is that the character in the middle position of the center stage gets 1500 power. So that's probably by the end of the game going to be one of your Aangs. But also specifically for your end combo, she boosts the effect of Aang so that you flip 5 on the climax combo effect instead of 4. So that makes it much easier to hit the full 4 or guarantee the 3. The rolls that you want for the Aang. Now do keep in mind the wording is a little bit weird where it says you can only have 1. So if you play 2 of these in the back row, they kind of cancel each other's effect out. You have to only have 1. So there's no way to make it where you flip 6. It specifically says if you do not have another one of these, then the effect happens. The climax effect with Frozen in Action is you basically just... when you play this card, you can rest this card to put a character from your waiting room into stock. So it gains stock, but it's at level 0 as well. There's not many level 0 climax combos, and this one works quite nicely because this deck is going to have 0, 1 in green, which we'll get into shortly, and then our main climax at 3. So I think that works pretty nicely in terms of what we want to do. So there is the Katara stuff. The next important kind of key card is going to be the blue level 0 Aang. This is Aang attacking with water. It also has an effect like the level 3 and the level 1 Aang over here. Flip the top 3 cards of your deck over into the waiting room. You count them, but you're only looking for 3 this time. There's no effect for 2 or 4. It only wants to see 3 colors. But if you do, you get to choose a card and put it into your hand. And of course the rest go to the waiting room. So this is cool because it's one of the few effects that is basically free. Like there's no pay a stock and this happens, discard a card and this happens. No, it's just if you get lucky, if your deck building is good, you get the that effect. So that's good. And then it also has a on play. Choose the bottom card of your clock and a character in your waiting room and exchange them. So it can get a card out of your clock into the waiting room, and then we have much easier access to searching cards out of the waiting room. So play that at 4. This is also assisting with the event where we need to see Aangs somewhat early on, and so this is going to be one of our main Aangs, obviously. Similarly, we have another level 0 Aang in blue, and that is one copy of the trial deck Aang, the Drop Searcher, which we don't really need to explain too much. And then what else do we have in blue? We have one copy of Sokka Warm Welcome. This is just like, you get to a point with the way you're doing colors and stuff like that in this deck where you just need a couple of roleplay cards where like, I need a blue card that needs to be in or around this color, this level. This is what we have for Sokka. So yeah, it's an interesting card. You know, when it's placed on stage from your hand, pay the cost, choose a level 0 character in your waiting room and put it in any position on the stage, and you have to discard a card. And then when it attacks, it can boost a character times the number of characters. So it's an interesting kind of role player card. It's not necessarily one you want to use like a ton, but it's nice at 1 copy. And then also 2 copies of Katara and Aang Reciprocated Feelings. So this is the way the deck is constructed here. The Aang is our only level 3. So I've made up for the kind of lack of high-end power by having our level 2 like attacker cards be the higher cost ones. So they're like level 2 cost 2s, so they have 2 soul, and they're, I think, among the more powerful ones in the set. So we have 2 copies of this, which is good because it basically is, it goes up to 10,500 so long as you have your backstage full. And then its other effect is when you play a climax card, it has a pseudo climax kind of combo in a way. So you give 2 of your other characters, I think it includes itself, give 2 of your characters, so it can be itself, the effect of when you attack, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose 1, put it on the top of your deck, and the rest into the waiting room. So we're focused on triggers. This actually works well with this in terms of guaranteeing like trigger flips and stuff like that. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, that is the lineup there. And straight away you'll notice here, the kind of card ratio already feels a little bit weird. Where like, look at yellow, where we have 4, 4, 4 here. So like that's 12, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 yellow cards is already like over a quarter of your deck. What's going on here? In blue, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's much more like it. Well, what's the difference? The main reason for that is just that, think about when we want these effects to go off, the level 3 effect, when we want it to go off, we're hoping to have 3 copies of this on the field, 1 copy of energy bending on the field, probably 1 copy of the event in memory. That's straight away 5 cards that won't be in your deck. So your yellow will be down to around 12, 13 by the time you get to doing this. So you do have to keep that in mind to maximize what's going on here. And again, you probably also want 1 copy of the Katara on the field, so we play, you know, a reasonable amount of blue as well. So that's just a way to kind of think about it. You're always going to lean more into yellow, and so somewhere in the region of 18 is about right. Then we get into green, which is going to be one of our main colors here. So 4 copies of Toph Blind Bandit. This is the double rare Toph. Just one of the copies is the SP. And we're playing 2 copies of the Climax card, Skillful Display, which goes with that. Again, this is just a really good level 1. This position, I think, pretty much has to be this main combo in the middle. It has to either be this or the level 1 Sokka combo in blue. And obviously you would have to make some changes in each color if you wanted to swap one of them in. But this is good. This is really, really interesting. Nice search abilities, again, for the waiting room and stuff like that. So it's a good Climax combo for sure. We're also in green playing 4 copies of Toph Wanted. So this is the Toph Brainstorm card. It's the best brainstorm in the set, and probably one of the best brainstorms in the whole game of Weiss Schwarz. So it's pay 1, rest, top 4 cards, check for Climax, and based on the number that you get, search your waiting room for a character. But also the other effect activates. So when you use an act ability, which the brainstorm is, so you immediately get to check the top card of your deck and put it on the top of the bottom. So do you want to include the top card in your search with the brainstorm or not? So it helps with the kind of selectivity. And then we also have 1 copy of Suki Kyoshi Warrior for kind of a similar reason to the Sokka, as just a bit of a kind of like role player card where it does something that no other card in the deck does, and we just needed to have another kind of green level 1 to have the level 1 lineup be kind of reasonable, basically. So that is the green. So you can see there that is 8, 9, 10, 11 green cards there, which is fine. Again, 12 blue, 11 green, and as you'll see here, an even lower amount of red. Red is just tricky straight away. I'll make that really clear here. So the toughest choices you probably have in this deck are just choosing what red cards. And because of that, I think I had to just go for high quality. So 4 copies of Zuko Crossroads, the double rare here, just because so many of the red cards are either really average or they are very specific to one of the red decks, like the Zuko deck specifically, or the Azula deck. This Zuko is just a very good level 0. It's probably the best generic red card in the set. So an important level 0, where like you have the Zuko here, the Aang, and the Toph are your main level 0s, of course. Just does exactly what you want. Our final level 0 is just 1 copy of Zuko T Server. I'll just put that here. Again, just to do something a little bit different than our other level 0s, this one actually has an effect that can draw us a card. And then if it attacks and its damage is cancelled, we can put this card into stock. So it's a bit unique in that way. To line up with the powerful level 2s, I have 2 copies of Iroh Buffed. So you can see it's also a 2 cost 2 soul level 2. During your turn, all your other World of Avatar characters get plus 1,500 power. If you have 2 other characters, this card itself gets 3,000 power. So straight away it's 8,500. But also, when you attack and you reveal a soul trigger icon, you get to choose a character and it gets 1,500 power. So it's pretty nice with the way that one works as well. And then because the red card lineup is pretty weak, it means our backup, 2 copies of Zuko Redirecting Lightning. I felt like we just had to go into red for the backup because we needed some red cards. So you can see there's a very few red cards in the deck there. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. And again, so you can see the ratios are a little weird in that way. But that's just kind of the way it kind of has to be, because it's an awkward build. Like I said, even making slight changes once you have a build is super awkward. Like for instance, you want to change this out for the Sokka. You think it's just take out the Toph and the 2 copies of Skillful Display and put in 4 Sokkas and the Space Sword Climax. Great, but what you've done is you've completely eliminated like 6 green cards from your deck to put in 6 blue cards. Now there's way too much blue and not enough green. So what you need to do is elsewhere in the deck take out blue cards to put in green cards, and it becomes this really kind of messy situation where at that stage you'd basically have to replace the 2 Kataras, this Sokka, and probably the Aang Searcher here with equivalent cards in green, and that can be a bit of a challenge because the card pool in green is very, very different. And then if it really isn't working out for you, you might have to switch some of that stuff with the red, because you can't really touch a lot of the yellow too much unless you just want to completely abandon playing the event or playing the kind of trigger kind of cool card. So it's a weird deck in terms of how it kind of functions in that way. But you can see what we've done here is we've kind of eased the color stuff by obviously having the event in play, but also not having too many level 3s, and making up for that with kind of better quality level 2s with these cards here. But our amount of 3s and 2s together isn't like huge within the deck, so we're very much reliant on like a pretty strong lineup of level 0s, consistency, the fact that we have a level 0 combo and a level 1 combo, even though it's only 2 of each of the events, is a little bit kind of interesting. But you will note though with the lineup that we have there that it is 4 choice, 2 gold bar, 2 gate / pants. So you have pretty good ability to get stock, because the gold bar gets you stock, the choice can get you basically stock or cards in your hand, and then having the blue, which we really wanted, allows you to get climax cards when you flip this. And so that's a big thing especially, and that's why like having these really help on like early turns when like you trigger this, you can get like potentially multiple climaxes out of the waiting room and stuff like that, and there's some fun turns like that where you can really do some big things when this actually triggers. And again, you are building up to a turn where it is 3 of this, and now you do need to keep in mind the resources required for that, which is like pay 2 cost, there's no early playing, free playing the Aang, so you need like 6 straight away to play that. And then you do need a certain amount of stock and cards in hand to actually do the effect. So you'll need 3 cards in hand going into that big turn to pay for the costs. You just need 1 stock because, of course, you'll attack with the first one, pay with the stock, but you'll get a stock back from its own attack, which will be the cost for the second one, and so on. So you don't need to worry too much about stock because the deck, I think, gives you good stock, but just do keep that in mind. It can be a little bit tricky with this deck when you get to the point where, like, say you just level up and now all of a sudden you only have 1 card in your level and clock for colors. Maybe it's before you've gotten around to playing this card. You do need to keep an eye on stuff like that when it comes to like your turns when you play your level 1s. So early on in the game, you do kind of have to kind of keep in mind that, like, okay, what are my main level 1 plays? It is the Aang, it is the Toph. So it's yellow and green is mainly what you're focused on. So you want to make sure to try and have in your clock yellow and green, depending on what you're doing, especially if you have the green climax combo ready to go, like focus on green, and maybe you might have to put a brainstorm into your clock, stuff like that. And then that's when the deck sort of switches over. When you go from level 1 to level 2, you'll notice that it switches from being green to being your power cards at level 2 are in blue and red. So you have to have those in your clock. But at that point, you're probably hoping that you have this in play and you don't need to worry about color. So like the dream, of course, is that you get this early, and the second you hit level 1, this will be the first card that you play, and you don't need to worry about color for the rest of the game, because nothing will pull this out of the memory, basically. So that is the 4-color Aang deck, which I'm very interested to see how it does against the Katara deck. So now for the Katara and Sokka deck. Like I said before, it's basically all blue. There is a few cards at level 0 in different colors, but it's nothing crazy. It's probably the most like consistently like just one color for the most part. But this deck is going to focus on 2 climax combos, and that is the level 1 Sokka, Warrior of the Southern Water Tribe, level 1 combo with Space Sword, which is actually really nice. So this one is, it's 3,500 power, it's level 1. During your turn it gets 3,000 power, so 6,500 is pretty good. When it attacks, if Space Sword is in your climax area and the total level of cards in your level is 2 or higher, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 event or character among them, reveal it to your opponent and put it into your hand, rest into your waiting room, and this card gets 500 power until end of turn. The power is a little bit like, I wish it was maybe a little bit better, but you know, it's still pretty decent. But the whole idea is there is a little bit of setup there with the experience cost. It does mean you have to put sort of high level cards into your clock early on, which isn't too bad because you can put like a level 3 in there early on in most games, and so that's sort of sorted for it. But then the benefit that this has is that it can get you an event. And this is why this card could actually be quite useful if you did put it into the Aang deck, because it can get the color helping event. But in this case, it's more focused on the healing lessons event. But you know, that's just a nice little bit of variety there. You're still probably most of the time searching for characters, so that is obviously 4-copy card. Space Sword again. So again, this deck is 8 pants, 8 gate. They both have the same trigger icons on the climax cards, so you get climax cards very easily in this deck. That shouldn't really be an issue at all. So that's the level 1 combo, which is quite good. The level 3 combo is a very interesting one. It's one of those ones where it feels like in reading it, it seems very cool. In practice, it feels like I wish it was a little bit more powerful. But yeah, this is the level 3, 2 cost, Katara Saving Aang. It's a double rare, 9,500 power. If all your characters are World of Avatar, this gets 1,000 power, so it's actually 10,500. Combo experience. When this card attacks, if Spirit Water is in your climax area and the total levels of cards in your level is 4 or higher, put up to 1 card from the top of your clock into your waiting room, and this card gets the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. At the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, choose up to 2 of your opponent's characters, and those characters get -1 soul until end of turn. So it is a more defensive effect there. You heal on climax combo, which is interesting. It does mean it can be multiple use, but you do need to have the climax. But again, because the deck is 8 gates, basically, you can get that easy enough. But then the effect here is you obviously prolong your own survival by healing yourself more regularly, and you limit the amount of damage that 2 of your opponent's characters are going to do. Now, it's only kind of -1 on both sides, so it's technically, you know, -2 overall to what they're doing. But it seems like interesting in terms of how it adds up. You know, it's one of those ones where like you wonder, does that actually mean much when like they attack and they're maybe swinging in for like 3 on a climax turn, but now it goes down to 2? And you're like, yeah, it actually does kind of add up a little bit. So it's interesting. Obviously, I think in most cases you're probably going to prefer to have the idea of like some of the crazy finisher stuff that you have, like the Azula or the Aang, where you're doing chunks of multiple damage. But because it's, I suppose, limiting their damage and healing off damage combined, the two work, I think, pretty well together overall, which is kind of nice, I think. So there's that. And then the event that sort of like plays a role here is the level 2 event, Healing Lessons. So You may choose one of your level 2 or higher characters with Katara in its card name and return it to your hand. And if you do, choose one of these effects and perform it. So the first effect is choose up to one Katara saving Aang in your hand and put it in any position on your stage, and that character gets the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card cannot be chosen by your opponent's effects. It's kind of like magic, kind of hex-proof style thing, which is good in certain situations. It depends if your opponent actually can do anything like that, but you know that's nice in a way. And also that's just, I suppose the main benefit of that is it does allow you to early play this level 3 Katara at level 2, because it just says if you have it in hand, put it onto the field, and then you also get another effect. The other effect is put up to one card from the top of your clock into the waiting room. Choose one of your characters, and that character gets plus 3,000 power until the end of turn, and you put this card into your memory. So the other one is a heal effect on an event, which is kind of nice, combined with this having a healing effect as well. And then it also gives a power boost to a character. So it's useful, but I still feel it's one that you only play like 2 copies of, just because it's like an event and the Sokka is able to search it. It's one of those ones where like maybe there's a way to make it flow a little bit better, but I find like 2 is probably what you want, just because I don't know, the occasional healing I just don't feel like kind of maybe adds up as much as you kind of think it does. So let's get into the deck building. So obviously 4 copies of the level 3 Katara saving Aang, 4 copies of Spirit Water, of course. That's fine. We're also playing 4 copies of Sokka and 4 copies of Space Sword. So that's the 2 climax combos sorted, no problem. We are playing 2 copies of Healing Lessons, again, somewhat high level cards there. But now, some additional cards that kind of work with what we've just focused on as our kind of main cards. Level 0, Katara playing with water. We're playing 4 copies of this because it does have an effect, which is when this card is placed on stage from hand, if you pay the cost, 1 stock, you can choose 1 Healing Lessons in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So the fact that the Sokka can get events as part of his effect, and the fact that this can get Healing Lessons out of your waiting room, helps us to be fine with only playing 2 copies. So that is a nice Katara that functions with some of the other cards. So 4 copies of that. We are playing 2 copies of Suki Coming to the Rescue. Now you might be wondering why we're playing a green card in the blue deck. Well, because of the effect on it. It has a bond with Sokka, Warrior of the Southern Water Tribe. So our level 1 climax, level 1 card. So, which is obviously, bond. When this card is played and placed on stage, pay the cost, which is put a card from your hand into the waiting room, and you can get a Sokka from the waiting room into your hand. So this at level 0 just allows you to very consistently get the Sokka and set up the level 1 combo. So I think, really, really nice to have that, and it's always nice to include a Suki card in a deck that features Sokka as well. Then, our other level 3. So this is another opportunity for us to bring the Katara Desire to Help into play. I think I've mentioned this in previous deck builds as like a potential option. But in this deck, this is our other level 3. So if you have 4 or more World of Avatar characters, this gets -1 level in your hand. So there's also the ability to early play this. It's probably a little bit more consistent, the early play on this, than the event-focused early play for the main Katara, but they both can go off. That's the options here in the deck. When this card is played on stage from your hand, if you have another World of Avatar character, this gets the following ability until your opponent's next turn, which is during your opponent's turn, this card gets 4,000 power. So this is the one that it gets more powerful during your opponent's turn. So it's somewhat like weak on your turn, but it's actually quite difficult to get over on defense, so it's kind of interesting that way. And then also it has the sort of like improved healing, which is when this card is placed on stage from hand, pay the cost. If you do, put the top card of your clock into stock. So you heal into stock rather than heal into waiting room, but you do have to discard a card to do that. So especially late in the game with this deck, where like the hand advantage isn't like super strong apart from gaining climax cards from the triggers, that can be somewhat something that you need to keep an eye on. So there's that. Our other level 2 here is going to be, like the other deck, we play 2 copies of Katara and Aang Reciprocated Feelings. Just like I said in the previous deck, it's a good card. 10,500. It's slightly higher stock cost, but it's perfectly fine and allows you to get the trigger checks a little bit easier. It's just, I think, a really good level 2. We will actually play the card that kind of goes with this. We'll play 1 copy, I think it is, in this deck of this. This is mainly just for consistency's sake. I kind of might have wanted 2, but I think 1 is fine. So we can ignore the climax combo effect, but just if your level is 2 or higher, this card gets the following ability, which is that we get to put this card into the waiting room and put this card from our hand onto the waiting room. So it just allows us to, at level 2, free play it. So it's not an early play, it just avoids the 2 cost if you have this. So that works kind of nicely. So you can see we have kind of 2 cards here that sort of like assist with getting to higher level cards. Final level 2s, yeah, 2 copies of Sokka Cactus Juice. Because we're doing a little bit of Sokka stuff as well, Sokka doesn't have a level 3. We'll play this one as well. So experience matters a bit in this deck, so the level of the cards that are in your level matter. So this one says, if the total level of cards in your level is 5 or higher, this card gets 500 power and Encore, which is discard a character. But also, when this card attacks, if the character facing this card is level 3 or higher, it gets 6,000 power. So this is actually a really, really good card to make up for the fact that your cards are kind of more like defensive. This level 2 Sokka is crazy offense, where like it goes as high as what? 13,500 stock, and then higher if you have climax cards and other cards in play. So it's a bit of a powerhouse here, the other level 2 that we play. So you can see our high level cards are actually pretty good overall. And these are the cards that we probably want to stick into our level so that we can do the, was it level 2 or higher? This one is level 4 or higher, level 5 or higher. So it does want you to put like the likes of level 2s and 3s into your level to get those experience effects kind of going off. So do keep that in mind. Level 1s, more level 1. So we have 2 of the level 1 Katara Experienced Fighter. This has experience for level 2. If that is the case, if your number level in your level is 2 or higher, this gets +1 level and plus 2,500 power. This is part of comboing with the healing lessons, which part of the requirement to play it is that you have to take a level 2 or higher Katara from the field back into your hand. So you typically don't want to do that necessarily with the level 3s unless you have the ability to pay for their costs quite a lot to get the healing going constantly. So at earlier levels, probably at level 2, you don't want to be paying a ton of stock just for a level 2. So the idea here is that this is a level 1, 0 cost, that if you just have the experience condition, it comes onto the field and becomes a level 2. You just then take it back into your hand, play the event, take it back into your hand, and you get the benefit that way as well. So that's pretty good. And then, yeah, during your turn, when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, if you have another World of Avatar character, you may put that battle opponent at the bottom of your opponent's deck. So it kind of eliminates cards quite nicely, pretty good. We also have a similar card to that, and I think there's some debate about, like, do you play 4 copies of the Experienced Fighter? Do you play 4 copies of this Katara? Or do you do like I've done here and just split the difference and go for 2 of each? Also level 1. This time it's 4,500 power. It's when this card is placed on stage from your hand, this card gets +1 level and +1,000 power until the end of turn. When this card attacks, choose one of your other characters and it gets X power, where X is the number of characters times 500. So this one more kind of does stuff itself. This one boosts other cards, but this has an experience requirement. This one doesn't. But fundamentally, they're doing very similar things in the deck. It's up to you about which one you value a little bit more. We also have the 1 cost level 1 Katara Fire Nation Disguise. So this has assist, which is the assist level boost, so level times 500, which is good. We need extra power for certain cards, like the Katara Desire to Help, for it to attack strongly, to help Katara saving Aang attack higher, and then again, this also helps the Sokka get to very high power levels. This also has an experience effect, which has a cost. So when your character's trigger check reveals a gate or pants trigger icon, which is all we have in the deck, if the total level is 2 or higher in your level, pay the cost, which is discard a card. If you do look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose one of them, put it into your hand, and the rest into the waiting room. So it's another kind of searching effect, which I think works pretty nicely overall. The rest of the cards here are our level 0 lineup. So the final off-color cards is that we just have 2 copies of the Aang and Zuko Unexpected Cooperation. The reason we have this here is just that I found that Blue had quite bad power on its level 0, so there's a lot of 500, 1000, stuff like that in the deck. That this and its ability to go up to 4000, I think we needed something that was a little bit more of a power focused level 0, and given that we had a little bit of yellow, I felt like this was the option to go for there. But the rest of them are blue, so we do have a brainstorm in the deck, and yes, we are going to go for the Sokka. Now, keep in mind with the Sokka, realistically, if you want to play the Katara deck, this probably should be the top brainstorm. This is the thing with every deck. It should be the top in pretty much every deck. You can maybe make a little bit of a debate with the Azula deck that the Mei works in combo with what she's doing, but it's only for like a plus 500 power boost, I think, so it's not too bad. The Ty Lee in that deck is more important. This is just because I only have 4 copies of that card, and it fits in with the theming here. We're going to go for Sokka. It does help with the idea that we do need card draw, and so this is the card draw brainstorm, so I think that works out relatively well overall. And then we have level 0, Katara No Chance Given, which is also a pretty nice card. So when placed on stage from hand, choose one of your opponent's characters. It gets the ability that it cannot move to another position on the stage. So that is good, and that lasts until the end of your opponent's turn, of course. So stops them from being able to move away like a early play like level 0 or something like that, which can be interesting. And then also, when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you would pay the cost. If you do, choose a World of Avatar character in your waiting room, return it to your hand. The cost is to put a climax card from your hand into the waiting room. Now, this is the climax swap to get a character, which in most decks you don't necessarily want, but because this is 8 pants, which is the one that gets climax cards from your waiting room into your hand, you should have a reasonable amount of them, and so you should be set up for your climax combos relatively well. So the ability to get whatever character you want with her, I think, is actually quite nice. And then we have 1 copy of Katara New Necklace, which is just another kind of hand filter card. It's a little bit of a kind of power boost at level 0. We have 1 copy of Aang the Boy Trapped in Ice, which is the drop search, of course. And then 1 copy of Yue the Moon Spirit, which again is mainly for kind of back row power options. And also the fact that she's a soul boost card as well, I think is somewhat useful to have maybe for the end game, just if you're struggling with getting damage through. That was my kind of logic with this deck. But like I said before, the thing with most Avatar decks is that I don't think really any of the colors are so strong that like it is a benefit to stick with pure monocolor. Every deck, I think, especially at level 0, needs some of what some of the other colors have to offer. And that's just the way it is in the set, and it's a bit weird the way it kind of works, but this one is, I think this is pretty solid. Like the question with this deck is obviously, do you value the fact that it's more healing focused than offense focused? It seems like consistently it will get to the pieces that it needs, but it's also like, is it good enough? I like the experience thing, like that if you focus on the experience and make that work, you get the kind of benefit along the way, and you can get like early play on this. and other kind of effects as you go through here as well. The Healing Lessons has multiple abilities to access it. It feels like there's a lot of like little combos going on here and the ability to kind of do things. So at the very least, it seems like it has that sort of core consistency. I think we'll see some similar stuff when we get to the Toph deck, that it will be similarly like, you know, really solid fundamentals, but it maybe has a little bit more going on at the top end. But we'll get to that deck when we get there. But yeah, that has been the Katara deck profile. And now we'll get into gameplay. Okay, so let's get straight into the gameplay. We have the opening hands here. The Katara deck is going to go first. So we'll draw for turn. We'll put the higher level card into our clock, because experience is kind of something that matters in the blue deck over here. So we'll clock, draw 2. So there's a level 3 card there, another level 1. And we can only attack once this turn, so we're just going to kind of roll something out here. And I think this is the perfect card, the trial deck card, so we get to check the top card. It goes underneath as a marker because it's not a climax card, 4,000 power. And I'll actually put this in the back row as well. So we'll just attack in, trigger check, nothing. And we are doing 2 damage here, so 1, 2. So, that's that deck's turn. We go over to this deck, and we will... what are we going to do here? So, we have 3 level 0s, this. There's a... kind of feels bad, but I think this is what we have to do. So, do that to draw 2. Okay, so we've got some nice utility cards here. We have the event in hand for when we get to level 1. We just need to keep that in mind. And we can roll out some cards here. So we'll throw out the level 0 Aang, and the effect here will go off. So we look at the top 3 cards of our deck and we look for color. So blue, red, blue. They're not all 3 different colors, so they just go to the waiting room. No effect really happens. I will then put out the Chibi Aang onto the field. Its effect also won't go off. I don't even kind of really need it to either. And I will put this Zuko onto the field. So the Zuko allows me to look at the top card of my deck. If it's a character, I get to give this 2,000 power until end of turn. So I'll just do that. Yeah, I'll just do that as my ordering of things. And we will do our open attack here. So we get the trigger icon there. So that's 1, 2, 3 damage coming through. 1, 2 cancelled. This one over here. So flip for the trigger. This is just 2 damage. 1 cancelled. This attack here. 1. And we're doing a side attack here. Yeah, so this is just 1 damage. So 1, and we go through there. So not super ideal there that we didn't really push through that much damage, but you know, it's early days. So come around to the blue deck's turn. So they'll draw. They'll put the level 3 into the clock, draw 2, and go from here. So do they have any effects that need to go off here? This, okay, that could work. So yeah, they'll place Suki onto the field. They'll use the bond effect of Suki, so they pay a stock to get a Sokka out of the waiting room. So this Sokka goes into our hand. So we have that for level 1. So that's that played. Then yeah, we'll just play this Katara. We won't use any of the effects of that Katara at the moment. And yeah, the other stuff in my hand isn't super useful just yet. So Yeah, this is now more powerful because of the boost from the Sokka, so we'll attack with Suki. So this is fine, this will be reversed, and we're just doing the 1 damage. Cancelled. This can go over the Chibi Aang, so flip, we get the trigger icon, this will be reversed, 2 damage, 1, 2. And the Katara will attack, so flip, trigger, reversed, 2 damage, 1, 2. And that brings us up to 7 damage. So, now this deck needs to be somewhat careful about this. So we want to play our event on our turn. So we want to put a yellow card into the level. So I will just put the other event because we have one in hand. Otherwise that card is relatively kind of useless. So we'll put that in there. We will not save any of our cards in the Encore step. And we go into our turn. So we draw. So we got that. We need that, we need that, we need that. I will clock the climax card to draw 2. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now, we will play the... oh no, sorry. We can't play the event because we need an Aang on the field. So this is the other problem with this, is that you can see otherwise everything has gone well, but we need an Aang to play the event there. So that's where things become a little bit tricky. So we do have some options to do some stuff. So we'll put the top brainstorm on the field. We'll activate the effect. Pay a stock. Rest it. We get to look at the top card. Decide to keep it there or not. We'll put it on the bottom. So we look at the top 4. No climax, so we don't get a search. That's a bit unfortunate. Our last chance to do something this turn is the Zuko. Comes onto the field, so we do the top card check. So that means it gets 2,000 power. But then its other effect is if we pay 1, we get to check the top 3 cards of our deck. We get to put one of these cards into our clock. So we'll put the this into the clock. Then what we get to do is put the rest into the waiting room, and we get to get a character and return it to our hand. So we're looking for a level 0 Aang, and I think there should be one here. Yeah, the level 0. Yeah, just get the blue level 0 Aang. So you can see we got ourselves out of that mess relatively well there. We did have to do a little bit of stuff, but it's fine. So we'll now play the Aang onto the field. So the Aang's effect activates, so we can check the top 3 for different colours. Unfortunately, again, it's just 2 colours, so we haven't gotten lucky with that stuff, so its effect doesn't go off. But we have an Aang on the field now. So we'll pay our last stock. Finally, we'll play Aang consulting his past selves. This will go into memory, but we get to check the top 4 cards of our deck and add a character there to our hand. Now, so what do we want to do here? I'll grab the other level 0 Aang here. And this will go into the waiting room. So, yeah, this is in memory now, and so our color requirements don't matter. Level requirements still do, but the color stuff doesn't. So we're good in that regard. So let's get going. We'll play the Aang onto the field again. And again, we'll do this check 3. And again, it's red, red, yellow, so that effect hasn't gone off. We're not getting the advantage that we want, but we have the right cards on the field, I think. So we're making progress, I think, ultimately. Now, problem here is that we are very low power compared to the opponent here, so these are all going to be, I think, side attacks. Except, no, the Zuko can go over something, actually. The Zuko can go over something. I will decide to, yeah, do this. Do it like this. So the Zuko will attack over the Katara. So we flip, we get the trigger check. This will be reversed. And this will be 2 damage. So 1, 2. And then these will have to be side attacks. So this one will attack We get the choice icon on our trigger check, so that's good. So that means we get to look for a card with the icon here, and we either get to put something into our hand or put something into stock. So I'm going to grab a level 3 Aang into my hand. I think that's the right choice at this point. So yeah, this is in stock. And this is doing 1 damage. So yeah, 1 cancelled. And then we'll do the attack here in the middle. So we check, plus 1 soul. And we're doing 2 damage now. So 1, 2. And they go up a level. They'll put a level 3 into their level, because they require that for the experience. And we will progress. So, they are all the attacks done. They won't save this. And yeah, we'll move along pretty quickly. So we draw. We will clock there. These will stand up. I'll move the Suki into the back because I don't think we'll be necessarily needing that. I will pay 1 for this Katara. I'll move it into the back row because that's where it's better set. Then I will put Sokka onto the field, and I'll overplay the Suki with this Katara, which gets a level on when we go up a level. Yeah, some interesting stuff with this. And then as we go into Climax, we will play Space Sword. Okay, so this is 1k 1 soul, and we will get going with this. So, when do I want to do the attacks here? I'll do the Sokka first, actually, activate this. So the Sokka will well be more powerful enough to defeat the Zuko. On attack, what happens here is, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. We get to choose an event. Oh, it's actually 3 climax cards in a row, so nothing happens. So that was a rough kind of run of things for this deck to do that. So nothing happens there. The attack just goes through. And it's just 2 damage. So 1, 2 cancelled. That's nice. Next we'll go here. So flip, nothing. This will be reversed. We'll do 2 damage. So 1, 2. We need a deck refresh over here before the final attack. Okay, deck refresh, we take a damage, and then the final attack comes in. Check, nothing. So we reverse this, and it's going to be 2 damage. So 1, 2, and that is 7. So we go up a level again. We will put the red card into the level, and we're on level 2. So we're quite a bit behind the Aang deck. We will not save any of these cards, and we will move on. So yeah, this goes away. Draw for turn. Yeah, so I just need cards. So yeah, I'll do what I was originally planning to do. So to get rid of them, put these onto the field, and okay, I think this is going to be okay. So we'll play Toph. I'll pay 2 for the Iroh. Which again is all your other characters get 1,500, and if we get a trigger check, oh no, this gets 3,000, and then trigger checks can give other even more power out. So this is a good card to have. I'll then put the level 1 Aang onto the field and we'll do the effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, we'll check. So green, yellow, yellow, red. So that's 3 different colors, which is good. That means it gets the sort of twin drive effect when it gets the double trigger check. And now, what else do I want to do? I will play Momo into the backfield. I won't use his first effect, but I will use the second effect, which is to pay 1 and climax swap. Actually, I forgot to check that I actually have the climax here. Yeah, I don't actually have the green climax, so yeah, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, no stock, won't play the Momo. Forgot to kind of plan that one out. Okay, so that changes things a little bit, but not actually that much. Yeah, I'll use the brainstorm instead, actually. So check the top. Okay, there's 1. So we get 1 search for the climax. Now, what do I want? We're at level 2, but we can't really do anything with the other level 2s. So I am mostly probably just trying to build back up to getting my Aang combo later on. So I'll get the level 3 Aang. So that's fine. And from there, I will go into attacks, I guess. So first of all, the order of things. So the top is... This is 6,000, 7,000. And then that boosts everything. So I think we're pretty much good regardless of what position we're in. Yeah, I think this is probably the right order of things. Because like Toph gets a boost for this. Yeah, so we're good. I'll attack with the Aang first. Oh, no. Wait, that's the exact wrong thing to do. So I'll actually attack with the Toph first. So we'll flip, nothing. This will get reversed. This is just a normal turn, so it's just 1 damage that goes through. Now I'll attack with the Aang. So when I attack, I'll pay the cost, which is 1. And we do the trigger check twice. So 1, nothing. 2, nothing. But it is powerful enough to go through. And we just do the 1 damage. And the Iroh... probably should have done the Iroh first, actually, perhaps. But anyway, attack, flip. So we get a trigger on that one. So that's 1, 2, 3 damage coming through. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's beginning to even itself out there. I think that was a pretty good turn the way I played that for the Aang deck, after it initially looking like not great. So that will get reversed, and let's say what will they do? They don't have double zeros. Probably want to encore something. I think they'll let this go at this point. Let this go. They'll encore the Sokka. Probably, I think, the best way to do it. Because I think it gets the most powerful on its own turn. Anyway, the turn switches over, so we go here, draw. Clock. Yes, so that will bring us up to the next level. What do I want to do? Clock this to draw 2. So we'll go up a level, and we will put... What will we put into the level? Katara Experience Fighter. So four levels is in the level. And then what? So they're at level 2. There are a few things that we can do here. First one is this. Yeah. So these all stand up. So we'll put the Sokka onto the field. We're now at level 2, so we have 4 or more cards in hand. This gets -1 level in hand. So we will pay 2 to early play the Katara, Desire to Help. We put a card from our hand into the waiting room. Oh no, actually no. That's bad. No, I'll just do it and accept, you know, what. I won't pay this though. Yeah, because the effect here is to heal damage on play, but we don't have any damage to heal because you don't go down level again. So we'll just have to accept that that effect doesn't go off. But we will get a 4,000 power during our opponent's turn. That's the effect there. And again, it's boosted by this, so it's pretty powerful. So we'll swap these around like so, and these should be attacks that all go through. So the Katara will attack, so we flip, we get 1 soul. So this is 3 damage, this will be reversed, so 1, 2, cancelled. This will attack, so flip, plus 1 soul, so 2 damage, so 1, 2. This will be reversed. This attack, so flip, gate. So, what do we get here? Space Sword, Spirit Water. I'll go Space Sword for now. Feels more guaranteed that we can actually get that climax combo off that way. But yeah, that's +1 soul. So this will be reversed, so that's 1, 2 damage coming through, so 1 cancelled. And that's it. Now, what do we do on our turn? Because this is where it gets kind of tricky. We're kind of low on resources and we're getting towards the end here, so I'm not sure we can necessarily kind of save anything here really. So I think we have to let these two go for sure, and hope that we can just generate advantage on our turn. So we will draw, flip. We'll put this into the clock. We'll draw 2. Okay, so that draw was quite nice, actually. Okay, so we can put 4 cards onto the field, but we are looking to get kind of more powerful cards out. This is awkward. So I think what I will do straight away is I'll play the Brainstorm. So we get to look at the top card, put it on the bottom. So then we look at the top 4. So 1, we get 1 search. So what card do we need really badly? So 1, 1. I think I'll do, yeah, I think I'll do Toph here and try and make this happen. I think this is probably the best thing overall for the game plan, is to do this. So we go Toph. We'll play Momo at this point. Wait, do we have the green one in the... Yeah, we do. Okay, so we can do the climax swap. So we're going to pay 1, swap energy bending out for skillful display. That's the climax swap. I don't think we need to put anything back into the deck. And from there, let's see. I have the Suki in my hand. I might have to play that just to kind of fill out the kind of game plan. Which is, let's see, when this card is placed on stage from hand, pay a cost, choose an avatar character in your clock, return it to your hand. So anything in the clock that I want to get to my hand for discarding a card. That's kind of an option. I'm not sure how much I really want to focus on that now. So yeah, yeah, I think I'll just do that actually. So I'll do that. I'll discard the Zuko, and I will. The effect is choose a character in your clock, return it to your hand, and put the top card of your deck into your clock. So I will grab the level 3 Aang into my hand, and the top card of our deck goes into clock. So that's fine. We go into climax phase, and we'll play Skillful Display here. And from there, we will attack. So I'll attack with Toph first. So when we attack, we put a card from our hand into the waiting room. And then we get to perform the action twice. So we look at the top card of our deck, and it's level 2, so we get to search for a level 2 or lower card and put it into our hand. So I'm going to grab, at this point, the level 0 Katara Quick Thinker. And then we perform the action again. So top card is a level 0, so we get another level 0. And I will grab... I'll grab the Aang Searcher. But we have to do a deck refresh at this point. Okay, so that's all fine. Now, we did the 2 effects. Now the attack actually goes through. So we flip. We get the soul icon. So that is 3 damage coming through. Yeah, it's 1, 2, and then, yeah, 3. That's fine. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Then I'll do the Suki first, actually. So Suki, flip. We get the trigger, and note this is the Aang learning avatar state going off while there's a climax in play. So it is treated as having the gold bar icon. So that means the gold bar effect happens with this card, which says, when this card triggers, return this card to your hand. Put the top card of your deck into stock. Top card of your deck just goes into stock. So that's fantastic. Hand advantage and stuff like that, which is good. Yeah, no power advantage stuff though. And in this case, we are doing a suicide attack here. And we are doing 2 damage. 1, 2. That's fine. And then the final attack here. So we will... so yeah, we have to pay for the cost of this. So we have to put a card from our hand into the waiting room. I will choose this, level 0. And then we get the effect going off. So we look at the top card. This is considered level 0. So this gets us the Aang back. We then do it again. So this is level 0, which we have to choose. So there are 2 cards, which aren't too bad. Gets us kind of net hand advantage. But we obviously flip for turn. And we're doing 2 damage once again. They have to do a deck refresh though. So we might get them up to level 3 here. So deck refresh. And 2 damage. So 1 cancelled. Okay. So that's fine. So yeah, that works out. This should be reversed as well. That's not reversed. The Suki actually is reversed. That only works if the cost is 0 or lower. So we are not going to save the Suki. And they are not going to save... Or should they? Their hand is kind of weak otherwise. So yeah, I think they will save one of the Sokkas. So we'll just do this one. So they can use Space Sword next turn. So we draw. Now, they could go up a level if they clock. I think it's getting towards kind of like dangerous times though. So I think this deck probably doesn't want to clock. So what are we doing here? They need stock to use some of these effects, so they'll put this Katara out onto the field, and then we'll just do Space Sword, I think. So yeah, in this case we can switch this across so that the best attacks are working out this way. So this goes away as well. So this attack, so flip, stock, so that's 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4 damage actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. This all goes through, so there's 2 to make it up to 7. Here's the other 2 damage, and we just want to put the weakest card into the level here. So we'll just do this, and we're up to level 3. Okay, so there's that. Now, Sokka attacks. So flip, nothing. So this is just 2 damage, but we will be reversed, so cancelled. And then this. So flip. We get the soul trigger, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 damage coming through here. 1, 2, 3, 4 cancel. That's a very important cancel for the deck here, because it's getting close to the end over here. So that turn comes to an end, and we will not be saving the toss. Now we draw. Now we have 4 stock to work with here. We can begin to construct some of what we're doing. So we'll move the Momo here, put Katara, Quick Thinker onto the field. We are not going to clock. It's probably a little bit too dangerous at this point to do that. Or actually, wait. No, I think I will clock. Okay, so we'll do that. So the Katara goes onto the field. Now, yeah, I think we just need to go for this here. So, I'll play this Aang onto the field. I'll activate the effect. So we look at the top 3. 1, 2, 3. Finally got the 3 colors. So the Aang gets to, what does it say here? If you get 3 colors, choose a card, put it into your hand, rest into the waiting room. I'll grab the level 3 Aang. So that's fine. And now we have to decide what way we want to do our attacks and so on. I'm going to play it relatively safe here by just doing 1 Aang. So we'll pay 2 for 1 Aang. That allows us to heal a card. So that's that. Then I'll actually pay 2 for the Iroh. That way we can have, because we don't have the energy bending card at the moment, so that's, I think, the way we want to do this. And we're just going to have a weak attack and 2 pretty strong attacks, because I don't think we have any way to get over this, because it's it's under the effect where it was. Wait, how long has this been on the field? Like, has this been on the field multiple turns or what? Because I think it's past the point at which the 4,000 power matters over here. So it's actually more like just 10,000 power. So yeah, I think this is probably more of what we actually want to do. So yeah, I'll do it this way. So we'll do the Aang attacks. So we'll flip. Okay, we get the choice. That's good. That's a bit of luck. So we search for a card with a trigger icon, and we can put it into our hand. Okay, we'll get another Aang. Okay, and then we are doing... We are doing how much damage? So 1, 2, and then nothing else. Yeah, there's no climax in play, so it's just 2 damage. So cancelled. We'll do the Iroh attack. So we flip. This is just 2 damage. This will be reversed. So 1, 2. And this makes them go up a level. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1 damage left over. And we will put 1 into the level. So that's what they have. They're at level 5 in their level, which is fine. And then the final attack here will be a kind of suicide attack style thing. So we get the gate trigger icon, which is good. That's exactly what we need if we actually get the next turn. So yeah, we get the energy bending into our hand, which is good. We need that so badly. And now that was +1, so it's doing 2. 1 cancelled. And Aang is reversed as well. Okay. So that is the turn. I won't be saving the Aang. But what about them? Their hand is also getting a little bit limited. So this is the kind of tricky thing. Do they keep the Katara just to take out my Aang and kind of do it that way? I think they ultimately just have to let the Sokka go. And I think they just have to pay this to keep this in play based on their hand. So when they come around to their turn, we'll draw. And what will we do? We haven't quite drawn into the right card. That needs that. That needs a stock. So yeah, I think we just have to do this. So yeah, this gets a marker. So yeah, this is getting a bit tricky in terms of can these cards actually go over each other. So, the Iroh gets 1,500 power from Katara, and it's got 3,000 power, so it's at 10k. So the only way for this to work is I have to choose between these ones. But this Katara probably wants to go over the Aang more. So it stays here. It gets the level boost over here. That's just 10,000 exactly. Either way, this is going to be a tough attack. I think it will just about go over this, won't it? If it gets the boost. No, this gets the 500 over here actually as well. This isn't an assist, so yeah, this will work. I think it comes out just to like 10,500 versus 10,000. So this should be fine. And then, is this capable of doing anything? — 2,500. No. Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to get over the Iroh no matter what the power boosts actually do. So, yeah, I think it's going to have to be a suicide attack in the middle. So we'll do this attack. So flip. Nothing. And then this is 2. So 1, 2, cancelled. That's good. the attack in the middle. So flip, nothing. This will be reversed. This is for 1 damage, so 1. And then this actually will go over the Aang. So this is for flip, nothing. So this is 2 damage. So 1, 2. That goes through. So that's a 3-5 they've managed to get to. They won't save this. And unfortunately, I don't think we can save the Aang. Because we prefer to play the new one on our turn than pay 3 to save this one. So we let the Aang go. And I think that's it. And so realistically, this has to be the final turn for this deck. That's what this kind of has to be. So let's see what we can do. So this will stand up again. So we need to just go all out. So straight away I'll pay 2 for Aang, Master of All Elements over here. He will heal 1. So that's good. And then we need 1 other card. I'd like to have a different attack or something. So Iroh there. And then, well, just anything in the middle really is okay, I think. So, actually, let me just check something here. Yeah, that's not going to work. But I think it's probably the best option that we maybe have right now. And that is to just do... the search effect here, the Aang Searcher onto the field. Pay 1. Discard a card. So I'll discard this to search our deck for a card. So yeah, I'll get the level 1 Aang. That is the rest of our deck, so now we know what that is. So that's fine. I will then overplay the Aang into the middle over that. Aang will then trigger, so his effect gets 4 cards off the top. We'll do a deck refresh here. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, and then this card will be the card over here. So what do we get? Blue, yellow, so only 2. So we don't get the twin drive, and that's a bit unfortunate. We just get the power. And there's nothing really else I can do here, so we'll go into climax phase, and we'll play energy bending. So, first of all, we need to get stock. So we need to do some of these other attacks first. So I'll just do the Iroh first. So flip, we get a stock. We are doing 3 damage here. This will be reversed. So 3 damage. So 1, 2, cancelled. Then we will do this. So flip, nothing. And this is 2 damage. So 1, 2. And now the Aang. So we have to pay the cost, which is a stock, and discard a card from our hand. So that should be Aang. Then we get to check the top 5 because of the Katara buffing the effect. So top 5 cards, look for colors, and we'll see what we get. So what do we have here? Yellow, yellow, red, blue, green. That is all colors, so all of the effects go off. So that's really, really good here. So all of those effects go off. That means what we get to do is we get to put 2 cards from our opponent's grave into the deck. So we'll just put in two of the weaker cards here, this and this. Shuffle into the deck. This is a deck decompression, which is pretty important. So there is a chance that this could finish the game here. So yeah, we shuffle this in. We do 3 damage. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 6 damage here. So I think this means we've won. Yeah, because yeah, once we do that, then we just do, we got all 4 colors. So then it's just the last one is put the top card of your opponent's deck into their clock. So that goes into the clock, and that is they're at level 3, and that is 7 damage. And then of course what also still has to happen is the attack still has to come in. So we flip, we're doing 2, 3 damage. I might have actually miscalculated some of this stuff because I keep forgetting when I do the energy bending turn the extra damage there, but I'm pretty sure I calculated it there. Did I do it the right amount of damage there? I'm not sure, but either way, this is like what, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they would have maybe got to cancel like right at the end there, but obviously they've already lost. That's the the point here in this. So you can see the idea there is that I would characterize that game as being the Aang deck struggling in the early phases, but then the sheer just like I would say potential and ability of this card to just output damage won it the game there at the end. Just the idea that like it can do like 3 damage on its own and then a separate damage, and then it was going to do more damage. So you can see the strong potential of like if you get 1 or 2 of them kind of going. And again, the idea is of course that like hopefully like you manage to maybe survive into like another turn. You know, we were struggling with our stock a little bit there throughout the game a bit. So you can see maybe where there's little bits and pieces to kind of you know, switch the deck up a bit. So that has been the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been it. Thanks for watching, and bye.